Hello, Sanctuary family. Good to be here with you once again today. And I'm excited to spend the next hour with you. We want to talk about a little bit of everything. And I hope that you'll join us today and that you'll be, that we will be productive, so to speak. So let me get the camera and everything all set up here, so I can see when you come in, and we'll figure all that out. Come on. Having a lot of trouble with Facebook these days, so I'm excited to spend. All right. Come on. And having a lot of trouble with Facebook these. Okay. All right. Joe, good morning. Good to see you, my friend. Longtime friend, Dennis, good morning to you. Folks, let me know where you're from. I'd love to be able to call out your locations as well. That would be great. There's a strange thing following me on the top of my head. I need to comb my hair a little better, don't I? I know. I was just outside feeding my ducks and geese, and it started to rain, and it's one of those days here today. So good morning to you. Raj Kumar, good to see you. And Federico, good to see you too, from Colombia. Welcome, my friends. So let's see here. We have Greg Wheeler from Kentucky. And Jeff, good morning to you. Sarah, good morning, Sarah, from the UK. Good to see you today. And Karen is here from Alberta, and which, of course, is in Canada. And Raj Kumar says, I'm from India. Yes, and welcome, welcome. It's the other side of the day there, so thank you for staying up with us. Rex from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Dennis is here from Unionville, Tennessee. Another Tennessean, that's where I live as well. And Ringhild, good to see you from Norway. And Jeff says, got my Mighty Fortress mug, and I love it. Awesome, that's a great mug, isn't it? You know, I love all the mugs that we have in our shop. And of course, my favorite one is my mug with a mug on a mug. Yeah, and you've heard it here first now. We're redesigning our coffee, and actually we're upping the flavor a bit. And I'm excited to release it, and this will be on the new packaging, and this is going to be fun, isn't it? So we'll have a good time with it. The old packaging, though, still works. We still have a little bit of this in stock. Headbanger's Brew, that's our coffee. The best coffee in the world, just saying. All right. Kara is here, said, good morning, Bob. Currently in Outer Banks on vacation. That sounds so nice. I'd love to be on vacation. That does sound nice. I'm going to go on a book tour probably towards the fall this year when my new book comes out, and I'm excited for that. Joe says Crown Point, Indiana, but in Spring Hill, Tennessee this week. Well, Joe, we need to see you. You're not there. You're not that far away. That'd be great. Oscar, my friend from Puerto Rico, good to see you today. Much love back to you. And Bonnie is here from Louisiana. Chris from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just down the road a piece. Brian says good morning from Illinois. Good morning, Brian. William from Sonora, Texas. Good to see you, my friend. And Chris from Wyoming. Love Wyoming. My old neighbor, Wyoming. I'm from Montana. Dennis says, by way of Flint, Michigan. Well, there you go. Love Flint. There's some cool things there, and I've spent some good time in Flint, actually. Doug is here from Wilton, Iowa. Iowa's cool. You know, I have good memories of most of these places. And David says, "Good day from Australia," and I do miss Australia and miss my friends there. Good to see you, David. James, good morning. And Thomas says, "Wow, Facebook won't let me join again." Welcome to my dilemmas. You don't know what I have to go through just to upload every day now. Really being restricted. It's getting pretty bad. Jerry is here from Burlington, Iowa. So we got some Iowans. I'm not sure how you say that. Iowans, Ioroni ones. I don't know. Whatever. From Iowa. Diego, good morning to you from Argentina. Good to see you, my friend. Danley is from Fort Worth, Texas. Good to see you. And Andrew, good morning. Where are you from today? He says, "Hello, Joe Bob." Actually, my middle name is Joe, so it's Bob Joe, not Joe Bob. You were almost right. And Bonnie is here from Shreveport, Louisiana. Donna Maxwell from Georgia, our neighbor down the road too. Good to see you, Donna. And good morning to Rachel from Pennsylvania. And Johnny from Montana. There you go, my home state. Gerald, good to see you. From the Philippines. Good to see you, Gerald. Wendy says, "Hooray for Wednesday." There you go. Always excited to spend time with you, Pastor Bob. Thank you. And Wendy's from Ontario, Canada. And Robin is here from Tennessee. Simone, my good friend, from Illinois. Simone Cook. And Erica is here from El Paso, Texas. And she says, "God bless you from me and my son, Josh." Shout out to Josh as well. Good to see you today. And Andrew said he's trucking from Illinois today. So he's a truck driver and he gets around, don't you, Andrew? Jeff is here, excited about the bud and all that you've gotten done. Thank you. Thank you. And he meant bus, but I knew what you said. And we're real excited to go forward with this. It's one of the only ways that we can really see to feed the homeless at this point, but we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. And John Pierce is here from Texas. Erica said, "My son Josh, who's 15, introduced me to your program. Blessed." Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. And that's very, very cool that he did that. And good, Josh. Sarah said, "I recently broke the handle off my big Dream Big, God is Always Dreaming Bigger mug, and I've now been converted to a candle holder in my kitchen." That's awesome. So I have other big news. The Dream Big, God is Always Dreaming Bigger, that is about to become a blanket. In fact, I think it is. If you go to our store, wearemetalwearfamily.com, I think it's there in the store now. It's a 60 by 80 blanket. It's a good size, and it has that logo on it. And what a great idea for a blanket, isn't it? So, awesome. Yes, Jeff did mean bus. I figured you did, because bud would be something completely different. Yes. That's awesome. All right. And let's see, what else have we got going on here? Greg says, "Is Barren Cross still active?" Well, individually, all the guys are active. As a band, they haven't done anything for a few years. So, but you never know. You know, bands love to do some special revival shows, and I'm sure Barren Cross will again at some point. Timothy, good to see you today. And Rachel said, "I was wondering, Pastor Bob, are you going to do any podcasts on getting out of the occult? The good Lord saved me when I was practicing, and I'm so thankful I found him again. Sometimes, though, there are temptations, and I continue to pray and let the Lord work with my heart. That's awesome. Good for you. And actually, I've done a lot of podcasts on this subject, and I'm sure I will again. But, the best way to get out of the occult or anything is to simply invite Jesus into your heart. And the Bible says that when he comes in, when he enters, when the light comes in, the darkness flees. And I like that part, don't you? And praise the Lord for that, Rachel. I'm so happy that you're out. That's good. Bobby is here today from Montgomery, Texas. Good to see you, my good friend. And William Lamb, he said, I think they are. I heard that Bride reunited as well. Well, not really. But I think a lot of bands do like just some concerts or maybe a festival here and there or that kind of thing. But as far as bands are concerned, I don't think so. Oscar, good morning from Texas. Good to see you today. Sean, let's see, and Natalie John, I guess. I don't know if it's backwards or I'm not sure how to read the name, but hello to you from the Philippines. Awesome. Let's see here. I just lost you. There we are. What Christian metal band do you recommend? Thank you and stay blessed. If you have about 5 hours, I could do that. If you go to our website and sanctuaryinternational.com, there's a place there that says Intense Radio. You just go there, and I've got suggestions for 17 different genres of heavy metal Christian music. So go there and you'll get all kinds of ideas. Jerry says, good morning, Pastor Bob. I have a question. Why do we live in a society that is so crazy, fast-paced to the point where enjoyment is no longer a part of it? Example, eat, do things, drive. California traffic on the 405 especially. It is so crazy in the mornings when I drive my wife to Irvine from Westminster. That must be crazy. That's a long ways. The freeway is not stuffed at 6 a.m. and people speed at extreme high speeds and tailgate at the speed you're going and then blot out and cut you out literally. Pray for me for Southern California. Jerry, can I just be honest, my old friend? That's why I moved. And I don't go through that here. Laid back, really slower pace. When I moved here from California, took a while to get used to it because I was used to that fast pace. And here everybody is a lot slower. They take their time, and they take their time with each other. I love that part. I remember the first time when I got here to Tennessee, moving from California, and I went into a grocery store, got to stock up on a few groceries to put in my hotel room, and the person in line right behind me started talking to me. And immediately I thought, they're going to ask me for money, because that was true in California. If someone actually started talking to you, they probably were going to ask you for money or something. But they didn't. They just talked. And then somebody else in line jumped in the conversation, and then the cashier jumped in the conversation. And I thought, I love this. And then the person that was bagging my groceries said, would you like me to put this in a buggy for you? And I thought, a buggy? What's a buggy? And that's what they call a shopping cart here. And I thought, I'm on another planet, but I like it. And yeah, so it's been awesome. And I love the slow pace. People in Tennessee talk to each other all the time. Nobody's a stranger. And I like that part. I don't have to sit on a freeway for hours. I don't have to be that bumper to bumper that, my biggest suggestion, Jerry, honestly, I know this is big, is move. Just move. Life is so worth it, and it takes a little while to get acclimated again. but you'll be so glad you did. And there are many parts of the United States where people are people and human with each other. And I love that part, and I think it's worth it, to be honest, honestly. So, yeah, I think that's important. Well, let's see, we're not loading here. There we go. Okay, Mark, good day to you from McKinney, Texas. And he said, great news to see the bus, isn't it though? And I'm very excited. I'm sad that it's come to that we can't serve in some other ways, but I think this is going to work, and we're going to make it work. And the exciting part is that it's going to be a diner on wheels. You know, I tried to think for a while, and how can we make this fun? Because, you know, homeless people don't have any excitement in their lives, and I needed to make this one of those things. So this bus that somebody gave to us was used actually as a tour bus, and it still has the videos and all that stuff in it. Good sound system. And so, of course, we've taken out all the seats. I'm going to be building the counters on both sides, but it's going to look like a diner inside. And with the chrome stools and the red tops, you know, like diners have, and counters on both sides, and it looks like we're going to be able to seat about 40 people. I'm very excited for that. And then, you know, the white and black checkered floor, and, you know, and then the outside, a good friend is going to wrap it, you know, so it'll actually look like a diner on wheels. Very excited for it. And some great ideas, and we'll use the videos. We're going to turn them a little bit and mount them to the wall, but we're going to put classic rock and classic, you know, even 50 stuff, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a bright spot in some very dark days for people, and I'm very excited to bring that little bit of joy to people's lives besides the food and the fellowship. Brian, good morning to you. Brian says good morning. And Sigmar says, hi, Jesus metalheads. Good to see you. Folks, let me know where you're from. I'd like to know that. Andrew says, I'm 5 weeks and 2 days free from smoking today. That's awesome, Andrew. Good to hear that. And folks, let me just say, you don't go to hell for smoking, but you do smell like you've been there. Just food for thought. Sigmar says, Barren Cross is my favorite in Christian. You know, they're one of my favorites too, I agree. And I'm still in touch with those guys, love them to death. And, you know, Jim, the bass player, who is our worship leader also for Sanctuary, lives about 1.5 miles from me. He's very close, and I get to see him all the time, still very good friends, so that's pretty good. Brian Perry, good morning to you. Good to see you today. Amy, good morning, Pastor. Andrew says, Dale Thompson stole my profile picture. Wow. Well, there you go. That's a compliment then, huh? Rob says, Conviction is a good band. I'll have to check them out. E.L. Nakmar says, good morning, Pastor Bob. Hope you have a wonderful day. Greetings from Utah. Love Utah. Thank you. You know, there's such beautiful spots in Utah, especially in the mountains there. And my goodness, I spent some great time there. You are blessed to be there. Brian says, Memphis drivers are crazy. Yeah, I agree. I've been through Memphis a few times, and yes, they are. And people aren't real happy sometimes, especially when they drive and there's traffic. That's a big deal. Yeah. Scott, good morning to you. And Andrew says, is that why I-24 is so slow all the time in Nashville? Well, you know, during rush hour, I think almost every city slows down a little bit. But yeah, it is true. So I remember in California, when I would go on the on-ramp, you have to speed up to the speed everybody else is going, or you're not going to get on the interstate. Here, people join the interstate a little too slow, but everybody kind of pulls back and waits for them to get on, and it slows down traffic. It's one of my pet peeves, but it's because they're polite, and that happens a lot. So, Brooke, good to see you again today. Good morning to you. And Jeff says, and you do know the 405, many years in California. I have nightmares of the 405. I live near the airport. So, yeah, I'm in Redondo Beach. That's where I moved from when I moved here. And it's crazy, isn't it? Carrie Kelly, good morning to you, my good friend from Wisconsin. David Booth, Dale Thompson said Bride will be releasing a Christmas album. Well, that's awesome, isn't it? I look forward to that. I love that sound. Bride has a great sound, very unique, aren't they? And that'll be great. Chuck Ross says, good morning. Thanks for sharing your heart about the mobile diner. Well, thank you for listening. And yeah, I'm very, like I said, very excited for it. It'll be great. Kelly Nelson is here. Now, Kelly and I have been friends for, Kelly, 45 years, 40 years. I think we're old. Good to see you, my friend. Kelly Nelson. And Brian Perry says, cool about the bus. Yes, it is, Brian. It really is. Sean Natalie said, my son is sick and he's here with me watching. Can you include him in your prayers? Absolutely, Lord. I pray for her son and for just overall health, Lord, that you would restore it, that the illness would pass quickly and get back to life. In Jesus' name. Raphael, well, I did a larger move from Brazil to Portugal. Same language, well, kind of, but mostly, isn't it? That's been my experience. But the cultural clash is very interesting. It took a while, but that move was necessary. You know, I love Brazil, and I really love Portugal. I've spent a lot of time in Portugal. And, yeah. So where did you move to in Portugal? Hopefully not Lisbon. Hopefully the other side of Portugal. It's a lot slower there. Beach cities there are just beautiful. The water, the ocean water is crystal clear and blue, and yeah, it's awesome. Just saying. Love, love, love Portugal. So, let's see here. Steve here from Springfield, Missouri. Good to see you, my friend. And Scott says, crappy Ohio. Wow. Well, we're having that kind of weather today. Of course, you know, whenever it rains, and when it rains here, it's usually a thunderstorm, and it gets loud. And I've had things that have come off of the walls, you know, pictures that have come off the walls because the thunder is so strong here in Tennessee. But so when they do something in Tennessee, they do it right. And if you're going to have a thunderstorm, you might as well have a loud one, a booming one, right? So we have that going on. Gina is here from Whittier, California. That's where we started Sanctuary, in Whittier, California. At Palmview Assembly of God Church. We used that building. And that's good memories there. David says, good morning from California. Good to see you today. And Brian says, Barren Cross is awesome. Brian, you have good taste. Yes, they are. William is here from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Nice to see you today as well. And Jerry says, no grunge, only classic rock, 50s to 80s rock and metal to play in the diner. Well, it's going to be 40s, 50s, 60s mostly. Well, actually 50s and 60s, not 40s, but 50s and 60s mostly. This is an interesting thing. We've been serving the homeless for 16 years now. And I started out just playing gospel music in the background and kind of upbeat, and it wasn't appealing so much. And I thought, how do we get people to talk? And, for me, when I hear songs that bring back memories, my heart opens up. Are you the same way? And so I started playing some classic rock, some Crosby, Stills, Nash, some, the old stuff, and Creedence Clearwater, et cetera, et cetera. And they started opening up like crazy and singing along and memories coming back. And I would say, what does that song remind you of? And they talked about better days, talked about things that it reminded them of, and their hearts opened up. And so I realized that the music part of it and what I played, especially music that would bring back good memories, was really important with the ministry. And so that's what we've been doing. And I think it's been awesome for us, yes. So let's see. Oh, we're stalled here. There we go. Chad, good to see you today. Blessings to you and our online community, he says, from the great state of Kansas. And I agree, it is a great state. Awesome. Wendy says, wow, woohoo, for the bus. That warms my heart and mine too. Thank you, Wendy. So wonderful that you're doing for the homeless. I can just see them on those red stools enjoying. They will be so blessed. And I think they will, but we're the ones that get blessed the most. And I know people say that, but it is so totally true. So totally true. William Lamb says, I drove through LA back in 1994. People in California are insane. Yikes. I don't know if it's insane, although I think sometimes you feel like people around you are bordering on insanity because people are driven to that. Literally. Yeah. Jason, good to see you today, my friend Jay. Love your ministry, he says. Carrie Kelly says, miss you all. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Gina says, blessings to all from Whittier. Yes. And again, good memories from Whittier. Andrew says, old school bus. Yeah. It's not a school bus, though. It's actually a tour bus. And it's, if you've seen my video that I did yesterday, I did it with the bus in the background. And if you haven't watched that podcast, please do. And this live session is replacing my daily podcast today, so I'm glad you're joining me. So Lorenzo said, I know what you're talking about. Came back from Missouri and Kentucky, visiting from Goodyear, Arizona. Different world. It is a different world, isn't it? People were very friendly, tempted to move. Give in to the temptation. Folks, life is too short to live in a place that you don't enjoy with people that you can't connect with. That's my biggest piece of advice for you today. And whatever it takes to get into an environment that you can thrive in, you really ought to. Yes, you really ought to. Let's see here. James says, let's see, I just lost your names. There you are. I asked for prayers for a local man near me that I grew up with. He went missing Sunday, and all of us at the church are missing him. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that he's found. Please let us know that if whatever happens to him. And William says, I'd play Sabaton. I love Sabaton, and the singer is a friend from Sweden. Good band, though, aren't they? Yes, love those guys. Richie says, "G'day from Australia." Another Australian, and love Australia. I miss Australia. I haven't been there for several years, and would sure love to go back. And Garrick, good morning to you, my good friend Garrick. Timothy says, "We have some pretty bad weather here in Oklahoma, just like we do. A tornado late last night damaged some properties, but no one was hurt." And that's my fear when this happens, is that we'll have another tornado. And it was a year ago, a little over a year ago, that we had this really bad tornado that went through and wiped out a lot of our city and a lot of Nashville. It wiped out things from the bridge and all the way up here to Mount Juliet, which is 30 minutes away. It was on the ground for, 60 minutes, was it? And ruined. I mean, the path that it took out was incredible. Yeah. So we're not a big fan of tornadoes. Sigmar says, "How long are you in Nashville?" Well, I moved here in 1994. I've been here for a few years now. And but I moved here, and you know what I did when I drove away from California? And I love California. I love the people there. I just had to get out. And so when I drove away from California, I took my rear view mirror and I turned it up. And I said, okay, here we go. No looking back. And I had no idea where I was going to live, how I was going to live. I knew that, we would probably do church stuff again, but I just went. I knew God was telling me to, and I fought that for a whole year before I finally left. And but I turned my rear view mirror up and I went, and I've never regretted it to this day. It's been great, been really great. Yes. Steve says, shout out to Classic Christian. Yes, they have a metal night on Monday nights. A lot of the past classic Christian music. That's cool, very cool. Dennis says, I love the oldies. There's something about the oldies, isn't there, Dennis? That's a cool thing. And I'm glad that you like it too. That's cool, isn't it? All right. Mark says, good morning from a small town called Moundsville, West Virginia, with big blessings to all. That sounds good. I love small towns. I grew up in a very small town, and when people say small town, they say, I grew up in a small town with 10,000 people, that's all. Well, I grew up in a small town with 150 people, not 1,000, 150. That's where I grew up. So I know small towns. That's awesome. And Kevin Peeler, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see here. Okay. Diego said, I was told the angels were the ones doing the moving. Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Okay, let's see. David Rucker is here from Tucson. He says, your ministry just blesses us. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Dennis said, did you visit the rescue mission in Flint? No, I never have. I would love to. I understand it's a powerful place, and they're serving a lot of people. I know they're on overload there, so I have a lot of respect. A lot of respect for rescue missions all over. We serve a different kind of homeless person. And the rescue missions typically serve people on the streets that are more of a criminal element, people that need God's love and people that need help as well. But it's a little more dangerous. And hats off to those people that serve that particular crowd. We have more senior citizens, more families, more, not quite the criminal crowd. Although there are things happening right now that we're not real excited about. Juanito says, blessed. Good for you. And we are blessed, aren't we? Jerry says, Foreigner reminds me of the 70s. Yes, good music. When we go to Shakey's, I love Shakey's Pizza. The old-time honky-tonk piano, I used to play piano in there many, many years ago. And the jukebox played all the rock and roll you can play. And so pizza, Pepsi, or Coke and rock and roll go especially well to this day. And yeah, good memories, aren't they? I don't think Shakey's is around anymore, is it? Garrick says, I've been to Oslo, Norway a few years back, jamming to Mortification this morning. Mortification, of course, is from Australia. And shout out to Oslo, one of my favorite places to be. I've spent a lot of time in Oslo. Well, not a lot of time in Norway, but especially in Oslo. Good stuff there. Dennis says Putnam County. Dennis been here since 1992. Awesome. So you're 2 years more than me. That's awesome. Good for you. Mike Vaughn says 94 was so long ago. I kind of miss those days in the basement. I know. I used to have, when I first moved here and I got my first house, I had a group that met in the basement, and it got to be so many people that we were like this, just squished together, but we did it anyway before we finally had to relocate to another place. But those were good memories, weren't they, Michael? Absolutely. Jeff Mitchell says, having lived in different places, what do you say when someone asks you where you're from? Well, I tell them I'm from Montana, because I lived in Montana for, well, let's see, I moved in 1980, so I lived in Montana, well, a few other places here and there, but Montana was my base that I came back to until 1980. I was born in 1952, so that's 28 years. And, you know, honestly, I still love Montana, and I just don't get back there as much as I'd like to, but that's where I tell people I'm from, and fond memories of Montana as well. So, yes. Leslie Todd, good to see you, my good friend. She says, good morning, neighbor from down the road in Lebanon. Yes, you are. And she said, I'm so glad you did move here and thankful for the work you do. And thank you, Leslie. I appreciate that. I miss you guys. I would sure love to connect again. In fact, if you could send me an email, something I'd like to chat with you about. So, and that's just pastorbobbeeman@gmail.com. So appreciate that. And Jason said Jay, I don't call you Jason. Jay said there's thunder in Hermitage. There is, isn't there? And right outside here, I can hear it in the background as we're doing this. So we're going to have fun for the next few days, I guess, Jay. And Jim McCain is here again. Good to see you, my friend. Andy Woods, good morning, Pastor Bob, he says, and good morning back to you. And Chris says, I grew up in a town of 1,100. Pretty sure that number includes cats and dogs. And 150 may have included cats and dogs. Yeah, you know, you really get to know each other when you come from a small town. And there wasn't anyone who lived in the town that I didn't know. And I had 19 in my graduating class. 17 of them I started kindergarten and graduated with. So, and I'm pretty sure that in those, 13 years, that everybody had dated each other at least once. You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? So, Sigmar says, when have anybody's birthday, so comes all people in the town. Yes, and everybody celebrates, and you remember those things, don't you? That's true. Dale says, good morning from Four Oaks, North Carolina. Good day to you, Dale. Good to have you here today. Andy Woods, my youngest daughter, Harley, says hi, too. Shout out to Harley. Good to see you today. And Bonnie says, please touch and agree I'll be favored in my own safe place to live in Jesus' name. You know, God loves to give special gifts to his children. And no matter what kind of a situation you're in, and I've been in some interesting ones. I've been walking the darkest alleys in the red light district in Stockholm, in let's see, in Switzerland, in and here, and just saying, Lord, protect me, because I know I'm in a place that's very dangerous, and I know the Lord has always walked with me, always, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing. I just know he goes before me. So your situation may change, and your situation may not be the best, but God is there, and I feel protected. I always feel protected, because I know that where God guides, he provides. Where God guides, he goes with me. And the Bible says his rod and his staff comfort me. Even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you're there with me. It's good news, isn't it? It's great news. Aaron says, I just lost you, Aaron. There you are. Aaron says, good morning. Checking in from SoCal. Always look forward to hanging out with Pastor Bob's Coffee House. Thank you. Appreciate that, Aaron. And it's good to have you joining us. I appreciate it. Winston says, Pastor Bob, love you. 1 Peter 5:7. Thank you so much, Winston. Good to have you here today. Scott says, did you know Lou Grant is a Christian? I didn't know that. That's good to hear. I love that. Good. Rhonda, good day to you, says, hi, Pastor Bob. Hey, back. Jim says, I remember going to your basement. Jim, you did. I remember you there. And we had some really great days in that basement, didn't we? And it was, it just got a little crowded, really crowded, to the point where there were times where we just couldn't squeeze everybody in, and we were a little too close for comfort. So it was a good problem to have, wasn't it? Jerry Anderson from Santa Ana, West Garden Grove, Buena Park. Good pizza. There you go. And of course, you judge a city by how good the pizza is. Is that right? Just saying. And Michael said, I got to Nashville in 1967. I didn't realize you'd been here that long. Wow. Mike, I don't think I know where you moved from. Tell me that. Mel said, I love the new bus. Yeah, me too. I am more than excited about it, let me tell you. I just think it's such a huge blessing from the Lord. Penny, good to see you today. Need a little more coffee here. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So Sigmar says, have you what to do with this potatoes? And he has a little sign of French fries there. Well, you know, I don't eat potatoes, to be honest, and I try to stay away from sugar altogether, and anything that's high on the glycemic index, which would include potatoes and corn and bread even. You know, I don't eat bread, so beans. So I kind of on the other end of that spectrum, and so I don't eat that. Cliff, good morning to you. Having a good day so far? Glad to be here. Well, Cliff, I'm glad you're here. And you said so far, anything can happen, huh? I think so. Brian, good morning to you. He says you're looking healthy, happy, and terrific. Brian, thank you. And I feel healthy, happy, and terrific. I really do. And I'm feeling better all the time. And I think that the ill health days are behind me, and I'm feeling great these days. So, Gary Ireton, good morning to you. Getting my second vaccine shot today. Pray for me. You're going to need it. I know. Good to see you, my old friend. Gary lives in California. Paul is here from Oregon. Beautiful spot in Oregon, the Dells. Beautiful spot. And, here's a good old friend. Hi from Murphy, North Carolina. And that's Sherry from, if you remember Wedding Party, the old band. Sherry was the singer, one of the singers. And, but my good friends, Sherry and Simon and Libby and Betty, good to see you all, and I love you all very much. All right. Kirk Martin, I knew it was from him because he calls me Bobby. It's a good friend term of endearment, I know, and I love the guy. And he says, don't hate me because I'm better looking. It's not my fault, and I know. And, it's, Kirk, it's almost a curse that you and I have to be this good looking because, what are you going to do? I'm just saying. Yes. Roger West is in the house. Good to see you, Roger. Good morning, Sanctuary family, he says. Good to see you, Roger. And Mike says, I remember standing room only and a Disney movie nights. Yeah, the Disney movie nights were important. And those are back in the days when that was kind of a unique thing, wasn't it? And today you can watch it on your phone. Who knew? I know. Roger says, Pastor Bob would love to have you come to New York sometime. Well, that'd be awesome. And I'm probably going to be in New York sometime this fall. At least that's the plan. We'll see how things work out. Everything is opening up. It's so nice here anyway, where I live, to shop and to interact with people without a mask on. So glad to have that off. But that's not true everywhere, and I don't know how long you guys are going to have to wear your masks, and you're going to have to do social distancing, and all of that keeps me from doing what I do in New York. So let's hope it lifts soon, huh? All right. Well, let's see here. We're stuck. There we go. Snape says, good seeing you again this week, praying for everyone. I know we all appreciate that. And Michael said, I was born here in 1967. Well, I guess you've been here a while then. Yeah, I was not born in 1967 or the 60s I was in high school in 1967. Oh my gosh. Do you know that I graduated from high school 50 years ago? I just thought of that the other day. 50 years ago. I'm as old as dirt. Kenneth, good morning to you. And Sarah says, praise the Lord for your good health. Yes, and I do. I appreciate that. So I feel like I've gotten everything taken care of that I needed to do. I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to go again. I'll be 70 next year, and so I'm entering into the second half of my life now. See, Pastor Bob, did we hear that right? Second half? Oh, yeah. In fact, I've made an agreement with God that I'm going to live till I'm 120, and then we'll renegotiate. Let's see how it goes. You never know. Jerry says, what do you like to eat? What's your favorite foods? Well, I am really partial to Chinese food. I know. I love Chinese food. In fact, there were a few years ago, I made a point to have Chinese food in every country that I traveled in, which led to some very interesting Chinese food, I'm saying. Very interesting. And I had some very interesting Chinese food in Mexico City that had refried beans in it, which I'd never thought would go with Chinese food. It was interesting. But all over the world, I've had Chinese food, and it's all a little bit different. My least favorite Chinese food was in China. I'm not a real huge fan of Chinese food. I remember one time I was sitting around eating with a bunch of people, and in China, a very popular way for restaurants to be set up is a table in the round, and we call it a lazy Susan, but a round thing in the middle that spins around, and they would put all the food there, and you just have a little plate, and there you put maybe a sauce or something to dip in. But you take your chopsticks, and as that thing goes around, you just grab what you want to eat and put it directly into your mouth. So I was doing that, grabbing food as it came along, and I would ask the guy next to me, my interpreter, I said, what is this? And he'd go, well, this is this, is this. So I grabbed something, and I'm eating it, and I'm chewing it, it's meat, and I said, so what is this? And he goes, I don't think you want to know. I thought, I'm in trouble, and I've eaten everything. I've traveled a lot in Europe, so I've had horse meat a lot. In fact, down the street from me in Switzerland, when I lived there, was a butcher shop that only did horse meat. They had a big horseshoe on the outside of the building, and so I'm used to that. I've had kangaroo, I've had alligator, I've had everything. And he goes, I don't think you want to know. And I'm thinking, how bad could it be? So after we left the place, I said, so what was that I ate? And he said, dog. Okay, that wasn't what I was hoping to hear. So I've actually had dog meat as well, yeah. That was not my favorite. But I would say my very favorite is Chinese food. And so can I tell another Chinese food story? So the town that I used to live in Switzerland, was there was a Chinese restaurant there. And the first time I went in there, well, I have an old friend that, if I told you who he was, you'd know him, but I won't give you his name. Anyway, he said, whenever I travel, because I don't always know what the food is and all of that, he said, I always ask the chef to make me his favorite food. And that's a really good idea, and you can use that. So I always ask the chef to make me his favorite food. And so I thought of that when I went into this Chinese restaurant. And I said, could I speak to the chef? And they brought out this very typical Chinese chef. A little guy with the white hat, and if you could design a little Chinese older man chef, this was the guy. And they had to interpret for me. And I said, would you do me the honor of fixing me your favorite food? And his eyes lit up, and he said, oh, yes, 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 yes. So he was gone for a long time, and I sat there for a while, which is fine. And when he came back, he had lots of plates of food. Some of the most delicious Chinese food I have ever had. And he stood there the whole time and watched me eat it, stood there. And I would taste something, and I would say, oh, that's so good. And his face would just light up, and he'd get happy. And we did this back and forth he probably stood there for 30 minutes as I was admiring his food. And that is my best Chinese food story. I loved that happening. And I went there many times after that, and I knew what to order then because I knew what he was so good at making. So maybe you have some stories as well. So let's see. I'm getting far behind here. I'm sorry for that. And Gina said, that's what I do. Stay away from sugary foods. My health is much better. Sugar is the biggest culprit. Sugar grows things like cancer and other things, and it breaks down your immune system. And so it's really important that you don't do sugar. And people are surprised by what has sugar. There are some things that are actually higher on the glycemic index than table sugar. Seriously. They think, well, as long as I'm not eating table sugar, I'm okay. But what about those things that your body, makes into sugar, to glucose, to glycogen? Those are things to think about too. So yes, much better off, and you should do some research. See what things have sugar. Look at the glycemic index and see what things are higher in sugar. And usually if it's higher in sugar, it's higher in carbs. So a low carb diet I would really recommend for you. And that includes some fruits as well. There are some fruits like bananas that are loaded with sugar that aren't good for you. So yes. Anyway, just saying. Okay, it's not loading again. Why am I having so much trouble here? There we go. Sorry for the delay here. Gina said, beat kidney cancer 10 years ago. I'm blessed. Good for you. That's awesome. And I just beat it a few months ago again, second time. And I didn't realize that how high a lot of the fruit I was eating was on the glycemic index, and I learned a lot. And actually, when I went into the hospital, my diabetes was off the charts. I didn't even know I had it, and it was off the charts, and I should have recognized some of the signs. And so they taught me how to live with diabetes for the rest of my life, and I said, I'm not going to live with it for the rest of my life. It took me about almost 3 months to get rid of the diabetes, and it's completely gone now. I went from taking insulin to nothing now, and it's gone. But it's always a dietary issue, and sugar is the biggest thing, obviously. So study the glycemic index and learn about it. That's an important thing. Gary says, remember when Betty was the house mom? We missed you, Betty. We do miss you, Betty, very much. So I have to tell you, Betty used to do a lot of artwork, and she'd draw pictures of things that were happening in the house. And she just sent me a bunch of the old artwork. I love it. And I haven't told her that yet, and I really need to, but awesome stuff. And it brought back such great memories. Those are really good times. And Betty, if you're still there, thank you for sending those, and thank you that you've just been, and your family, that you've been a very special part of my life. I appreciate it. Jerry says, did your mom make you cake on your birthday? What do you get? Well, we've learned to make things with alternative stuff. So don't use white flour. We use usually almond flour or an alternative. We don't use sugar. We use stevia or monk fruit. So there are things you can use to bake with that are very low in carbs that are very good, and that's what we do. So, yeah. And she's watching her sugar intake as well. My mom will be 91 in a few weeks, so she's still trying to keep up with her. And Jeff said, in California, they're pushing for a triple mask mandate. What a stupid thing. Just saying. Just ridiculous, honestly. Yes. Andy says, last time I got behind the pulpit, the mask was the first thing to go. Yes. And, I wear hearing aids, but my speech recognition is also lacking. It's a brain thing. And too many years of loud music, that's what my audiologist tells me. So wear earplugs when you're at a loud concert. We never did. But anyway, so I count on reading people's lips, and this whole pandemic lockdown with the stupid masks that they've proven don't do any good. Don't get me started. My opinion, okay. But I can't read people's lips anymore, and it's really hard to navigate when you can't understand what people are saying to you. And I know I'm not the only one with that problem. There's a lot that are. Ian says, good morning, Pastor Bob. I'm ready to have a mask burning party. Will you come and have one here? Because we can do it right now. It's nice to shop in the grocery stores and in my favorite restaurant where I eat, and my friend owns the place. They've never used masks in there. Not even the servers have used masks ever. Yeah, we're a little more laid back here and a little more trusting, and we don't have huge coronavirus issues here. So Wendy said, I'm so glad to hear you don't eat sugar. Good for you. You're doing great. Yes, potatoes, bread, pasta, rice, oatmeal, they're all sugars. Yes, they are. And it's not just about donuts. It's not. And the things that have sugar are things people don't understand. A lot of fruit is not good. If you can stick with the berries, you'll be good. Blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, very low in carbs. But you get into bananas and some of the other fruit and loaded with sugar and loaded with carbs. And some nuts and seeds are good and some aren't. Peanuts. People consume peanut butter and think that it's a good food for you, but peanuts are hugely loaded with sugars, things that turn into sugar, and tons of carbs. Do almonds instead. They're very low. Pecans, very low. Things like that. Anyway, just saying. Well, we're running out of time, and I know there are many people I haven't said hello to here, but Rachel said back from getting my Holter monitor. I was wondering, are you still a vegan? I'm not right now. And I had to go off of it for a little while to get my health back, to be honest. I'm looking forward to one day returning because it's where I feel most comfortable. But I'm going to be doing it a lot differently. Gail, my old friend Gail, said, do you do intermittent fasting, basically? And yes, I do. I do the OMAD, stands for 1 meal a day, OMAD. And that's what I do. And sometimes I take 2 hours to eat all of that. But yeah, I fast for the rest of the time, and very good for you, very healthy, and it gives your body an opportunity to get rid of the waste and and to rejuvenate and restructure. And it's just that your meal, when you do eat it, has to be, the calorie count has to be up where you need it to be. So you eat a lot of food for a meal, but it's cool. Gary said, I just turned 60 in December. But man, PB, you're really old. I know. I am ancient. I'm ancient. My mom lives here with me too, and I love that part because I look at how vibrant she is. She doesn't slow down for anything. And literally, when she jumps in her car, phew, she's off. And people talk about her speeding, and she goes, I don't. She says, I actually get to the speed limit quickly. There you go. I like that. Joseph said, Cuban food. Dude, Cuban food, yes, yes, yes. Sarah said, I thought you were going to say the Chinese chef came back with the Domino's pizza. Now that would have been something, huh? But no, I don't do pizza. And Andrew said, Pastor Bob's Health Minute podcast. I really would love to do that someday. And since I've gotten fixed, my pancreas wasn't working, and so I gained so much weight through the years because of it. And now everything is fixed, and I had my prostate removed, and I had to have a lot of adjustments. I was eating way too much fruit. I didn't realize. And so, but since all of that started, I've lost 90 pounds so far. I have about 500 more to go, but I've lost 90 and keep losing all the time. So I'm learning a lot. Just about the time you think you know everything, you don't. Yes. So people are agreeing with my health advice. And Simone says, I eat keto, low carb. I feel much better. Yeah, I do too. and it's basically healthy keto. There's a lot of different kinds of keto, but some of them aren't so healthy. But yeah. And Michael says you can't pass along a smile, and that's what hurt me the most. I love to smile at people. And Michael, I do too. And you know what I did? For a mask, I got one of those face shields, and it goes like this and down just right about to here. And you can see through it. And that's what I got, because it's really important for me too to smile at people, to have some kind of because I still talk to people even if they have their mask on. I don't want to make this stop me from doing that, so that's been cool. Well, folks, we could go on and on and on with this, and I wish we could, but our time is up, and actually I'm over time. But I have enjoyed spending the time with you, and it's nice just to chat and spend some time together. I appreciate that. About 6,000 people joined me on the last one from last week. Some about 1,000 as I was doing it, and well, no, actually almost 2,000, I think, as we were going, and then a lot of people that watched it later. I'm going to probably post this on YouTube this time as well, and we'll see how that goes. But I love spending this time with you. We'll look forward to next week again. We'll be into May, and of course, the beginning of next week, we're going to change this poster. We'll have the new poster for the month and some new things that I can't wait to talk to you about. So folks, once again, as I always say, don't forget, you are what? I heard you, blessed. So go and be a blessing.